Hi guys. All right, so we have advanced order of operations. So this is a little bit above level and I want to go through a few things on the page so you know. So I'm going to work problem 1. This is question number 1. So let's take a look at it first. So we have two grouping symbols. We have brackets and then we also have braces. And then we have this little dot here that means multiplication. And then we have just our regular numbers and operations as well. So the first thing we're going to do is grouping symbols, and we're going to start with the innermost part and solve that first. So we will keep the brackets. We're going to get rid of what's in the braces, so we'll do 9 plus 7 is 16 times 2 minus 9 plus 7. The next thing we're going to do is what's in the brackets. So we'll do 16 times 2. And then we'll keep the rest of it, minus 9 plus 7. Then for the next row, we have subtraction and addition. Remember that subtraction and addition are friends, they're equals. So now we just go straight across like this and solve whatever it is that comes first. So we'll do 32 minus 9. And then we'll do plus 7. And then the very bottom we'll put the answer, 23 plus 7. And that's how I want all of the problems written, so you might have to use an extra piece of paper. Okay, and this is multiplying decimals by 10, 100, or 1000, and this is a review of something we've already done, so I want to save you a little bit of trouble. So I'm going to show you problem 1. So, if you remember, we have 85 and 5/10 times 100. And we talked about this before, and this is a moving the decimal point type of problem, so you do not have to do this long multiplication in order to solve it. So what we're going to do is look at our zeros here. We have 2 of the zeros here, and that's going to tell us how we're moving the decimal. So we're going to move it once, twice, and fill in with the 0. So we should have 8,550 as the answer. So just to go back a little bit further to remind you, so every time we move a place value, we're multiplying by 10. So here we went times 10, and then we times 10 again to move it to the second place over. So we have 10 times 10 is 100. And I don't know if you guys remember, but we also saw this as 10 to the second power. And remember the exponent there? And that also helped us to know how to move the decimal point. So that's how this page goes, so it should go pretty quickly. This is multiplying decimals by whole numbers. And so I'm going to work one of those problems for you too. So we have 45 thousandths times 80. So we're just going to multiply like normal and not worry about the decimal point. 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 4 is 0. Just continue on. Then I'm going to put my placeholder in the second row, and 8 times 5 is 40. Carry the 4 up there. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 4 is 36. Carry my 3 up. 8 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3, and 8 times 0 is 0. And then I'm going to add my columns up. Alright, and now here's where we're going to remember how to place the decimal. So we have 3 numbers here to the right of the decimal. We have thousandths, so we need to have 3 numbers to the right of our decimal in our answer. So your answer should either be 3 600,000ths or 3 6/10. Okay, today we're dividing whole numbers by 10, 100, or 1,000. So it's similar to what we were doing yesterday with the multiplying decimals by 10, 100, or 1,000. So I'm going to work the first problem. So we have 86 divided by 100. All right, so remember that at the end of every whole number, there's this invisible decimal point. So what we really have is this number here. And so this is another move the decimal point problem. So if you remember about the pattern that we talked about, and every time we move a place value, we're either multiplying or dividing by 10. And so we're going to now go the other way and we're making the number smaller. So we're going to divide by 10 and then divide by 10 again. So you should end up with 860,000ths or 8600ths. And that's how you'll do this page. Okay, this is long division with decimals. So the directions say find the quotient, round to 3 digits if necessary. So sometimes it's going to be nice and easy and it will just end up the way it's supposed to, and other times you're going to have to continue to add zeros after the decimal and drop them down. So I'm going to show you one of those problems, and that is problem number 1. So we're going to start off. It is 792 divided by 7/10. So the first thing we have to do is make sure that the divisor is a whole number. So we're going to multiply by 10 and move the decimal over 1 space, and then that means that we also have to do the same thing for the dividend. So we'll start with the invisible decimal here and move it over 1 and bring it up to the top so we don't forget. And then we're going to just divide like normal. All right, so we have 7 divides into 7 one time, and 1 times 7 is 7. Then I'm going to subtract and bring down the 9. 7 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 7 is 7. And I'm going to subtract and bring down the 2. And 7 goes into 22 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. And then we're going to subtract and bring down the 0. 7 goes into 10 times, or sorry, 7 goes into 10 one time. It gives us 7. And then we're going to subtract. And here's where we're going to add a 0 and bring down the 0 so we can keep going. And 7 goes into 30 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28. Then we're going to subtract and bring down another 0. And 7 goes into 22 times. That will give us 14. I'm running out of space. And I subtract. I need to bring down another 0. That's 60. 7 goes into 68 times. And that's 56. And then I'm going to subtract. That gives me 4. And I'm going to bring down another 0. And 7 goes into 45 times. And that's 35. And then I can stop there because now I can round to 3 decimal places. Remember, we used to round to 2 decimal places, which you can do, and that's fine. The directions say round to 3, so we actually have to divide out to 4 decimal places so that we can round to that one here and then we're going to use that bossy neighbor 5, and that bossy neighbor 5 is going to tell the 8 to become a 9, and so then our final answer should be 1,131 and 429 thousandths. Okay, so now we're converting decimals to mixed numbers, which we've also done before, and please notice in the directions it says convert to fractions and simplify if possible. So for number 1, if you just read it, it should tell you how to convert it to a fraction. So this is 3 and 4/10. So we're just going to write that as a fraction, 3 and 4/10. But then I need to simplify, so I need to figure out what divides into both 4 and 10, and I'm sure most of you are saying 2. Okay, so then we're going to do 4/10, and we're going to divide the top and the bottom by 2, and just FYI, my daughter, the camera person, is dancing over here to the side. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So then our final answer will be 3 and 2/5.